Let's talk.
What, take a lot of wine? What are you trying to tell me? Hey guys, this is End.Formants, End.Formants. It's our world. Let's talk about it. This is Russell and Toddy One Skip. And we are here to talk about Russell doesn't know anything about Scientology. And I thought, what a great crossover to help him understand this.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk. How was your holiday, by the way?
It was good. Spent the time with the kids. We had some family members come in.
Okay, so I have an important question to ask you, and I think that maybe my the viewers from Issues with Toddy One Skip might want to know too.
Okay.
So we want to know, when you say your family, are you going through a 5-year separation, or do you honestly mean?
No, my family. my family. I have a wife.
Okay, right, but
kids.
you're currently with them, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I just want to make sure, because sometimes that's left a little unclear.
Why is that?
Well, because there's so as you know, what started my channel with taking this trajectory upward is that I was following somebody from Scientology,
Right.
because I found Scientology to be really interesting. Cults are very interesting.
Yeah.
So I follow this one guy, and his name is Aaron Smith Levin, and he would talk about how he would go. He's got to go have dinner with the kids. He's got to go have dinner with his wife and kids. And he gave everybody the impression that he was married. And then he got in trouble in Los Angeles not long ago by being with this other woman. And then he admits to everybody that him and his wife were going through a separation. He just didn't want everybody to know about it.
So you
And
were
I
taking
thought,
a
well,
shot
that's
at
a
him.
little. Well, I was, because I feel like if I had told you before, when I had asked him about this on the side, I was like, hey, am I right to believe that when you say you're going home to your wife, that maybe you're going home to a full-on marriage? And you were like, yes. So I thought that was reasonable. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Scientology. So,
Okay.
Wait,
how was your holiday?
My holiday, I worked, but
yeah.
I got a couple surprise messages, I gotta tell you, that
pretty
made
cool.
me feel, really
It's always
good.
the little
And I
things.
feel like I got something from the other side, actually. Somebody that's not quite here, but kind of here. So, it was all right.
Good.
No complaints on that one.
Good.
So, so Scientology. So, if you look in the Guinness Book of World Record and look at the person that wrote the most science fiction ever, it would be a guy named Lafayette Ron Hubbard. So he was just a prolific writer. He wasn't a great writer, but he just kept writing. And his genre was science fiction, and Pulp Fiction got the name Pulp Fiction because of the paper. It was pulp. So that's where that got its term. So he was the most he wrote the most pulp fiction. Anyway, in his he came up with this. So keep that in your mind, okay? The science fiction part of it. So then he comes up with this self-help book called Dianetics. Have you ever heard of Dianetics? You probably have seen somewhere in your reactive mind. It's a joke between them. Anyway, Dianetics is it kind of helps you get past things like past traumas in your life by more or less making you go over it and over it again and again and again until it becomes like it's like nothing. Like and I can understand that, because from sometimes I'll feel sad about something, but if I tell the story over and over again, you do become a little bit more detached. I don't know. Well, it doesn't hurt as much. Whatever. So anyway, that's kind of the essence, more or less, of this thing. Dianetics was a self-help thing. And then, and there were supposedly a lot of really good points in the Dianetics as far as getting you through. There were some pretty good tools in there, from my understanding. I have the book, but I've read maybe a quarter of it. And then from there, he came up with a thing called Scientology that starts more or less with, it does with Dianetics, I believe, and then it also has this this bridge that you have to go up, and it's a bridge to clear. Now, clear supposedly, yeah, I know, but clear supposedly lets you, like, you can't get sick if you're clear. You can, like, walk through walls, like, and once you achieve the state of clear after, like, charging, like, so much money, like, you got to pay for these classes, and they're like you could pay like well over $1 million. So then when you get to this one, like I think it's like OT8 or OT7. Just trying to explain what I know here. It's very confusing. You are put on like the boat, which is the what is the name of that boat? It doesn't leave harbor anymore. Like it sits there, and I don't know, free winds.
This is
reality, Scientology. Yeah. And this is in Clearwater, Florida. You look it up, free winds, and then there you learn about Xenu. And Xenu is a galactic warlord who lived like 27 million years ago, but the world looked just like it did today, and all of these people, souls were brought up in this ship and then dropped in these volcanoes, and you get all these body thetans on you, and these body thetans are the thing that makes your reactive minds and stuff. So you realize that it's not really you, it's like all these thetans. So you have to kind of, and you go through this auditing session where you hold these cans. It's an e-meter that, so you go through auditing so that you can like get over these traumas. Like there's a needle where it's like they say it's like a real crude lie detector test, but you're holding these cans, and across from you is another person. I think it's the auditor is there, and they ask you these questions, and they don't want the needle to spike, because if it spikes, you have a reaction, and you're like, I don't know what I was thinking. And they're like, yeah, there's something in your reactive mind. And they're like, but I don't know what it is. It might not be from this lifetime. Huh? It might be from another lifetime, because here's the thing. If you go to the Sea Org in Scientology, which is the most dedicated part, it doesn't mean you're out on the ocean, though, Sea Org. I know, it's fooling. But if you go on the Sea Org, you have to sign a billion-year contract. Am I right? A billion, because when you come back, you got to continue. Each time you come back and do your life, you have to continue back.
How attached are they to this idea?
The viewers?
Yeah.
Okay, so
religion.
So the viewers, I don't think there's really any Scientologists that are. What happened was
Actively participating
I don't know. I if they are, then I've just shocked them, because they're not supposed to know about Xenu. But these guys, hang on, guys. Sorry. Okay, so the e-meter is like a crude lie detector test where you sit across the table and you shine. I showed.
Yeah.
People are going to ask,
reflective.
because this is our logo is all over, the job is all over here. You could probably
cover
leave
it
your
up.
name, but then it would have the logo of the company that we work for, so it's not good. That's why he's all plasticed up. So anyway. Anyway.
The e-meter.
Okay, so what it does is, there's so much about this so-called religion. They bull bait. In other words, they do things to like piss you off. They make you tell on each other. If there is a problem within the religion and you speak poorly about the religion, then you have to disconnect from your family. And they keep bothering you to pay money for the Scientology.
So what is because there's like always an altruistic stance that religions have, but what is like the altruistic point of view inside of this religion? Does it make you a better person?
So it supposedly makes you a better person just because, it's under the guise of a religion so that it can be tax exempt. It's really a self-help based on a science fiction guy who has has really lied about everything in his life as far as his career goes. Like he had said that he was in the military. He was in the military, but he said he was. Well, there are things he said that just were proven untrue.
Yeah.
You know that he was under attack. He had won Purple Hearts. There were things that were just untrue. He had suffered some battle scars, and in the meantime, it was sunburn.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Sunburn and glaucoma.
Wow.
So I mean, he told a bunch of untruths, but in the meantime, it wasn't even a good-looking man. But anymore, I see that these cult leaders, they're not so good-looking. Some are nice-looking, but
Right. What made this such a phenom to where it
because
took over
of the
industry
Dianetics, I
and
think of the Dianetics, the self-help part of it, and
to
the
walk
fact
through
that
walls?
it sold you on. Now, Leah Remini, who you know from King of Queens,
Okay.
you know who she, you know.
No.
Fair enough. She's cute. She's a real tough New Yorker, but in her attitude has always been that in the show.
Yeah.
King of Queens with Kevin James, is it? Not Kevin James, is it? Anyway, no. What's the guy's name?
Spacey?
Not Kevin Spacey. No. Comedian Kevin. I thought it's Kevin.
Hart?
No. Maybe it is Kevin James. A white guy, heavier set. Anyway, King of Queens, he's a UPS driver. This is the sitcom. He's a UPS driver, and he lives in the city with his wife.
I don't know.
His wife, Carrie. Anyway, Doug and Carrie.
Yeah.
You know, okay. But anyway, I'm trying. Anyway, she was a Scientologist, and she said that, you know, first of all, her mom dragged her into Scientology.
Oh, drug her. Like took her in.
Yeah, when she was a kid, like when her siblings and her were children. So, but she even said before, you know, she was mistreated by Scientology, and Tom Cruise is a Scientologist.
Yeah.
John Travolta is. You would believe that John Travolta is a Scientologist.
Yeah. So I knew that it was
So
big within the actors in Hollywood.
But it's not. It's really not. Just so you know, I don't think it is. I think that there's some actors that are Scientologists, but there are plenty of people in Scientology that are not, you know, actors and celebrities. So what they do is they dupe you into, they love bomb you into telling you that you're great, because as you know, to get into a cult, you got to be looking for something. So they find out what it is you're looking for, and then they prey on that.
It's
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
odd that all of the cults kind of start out that way.
He talks
to
on the
where
radio
it's
sometimes like that.
To where they start out in such a happy, harmonious beginning.
Of course, anybody
And then
that
it
joins a
turns
cult
to
is
this
really
sick-
that's the thing. Anybody
Yeah.
that joins a cult, and I've said this, anybody that joins a cult is joining for the better good. Like Leah Remini said, she was joining for. Here's the issue that's going on here, just so you know. I feel like I'm talking really fast because I listen to half these videos really quick.
Yeah.
Is that I was following somebody who was an ex-Scientologist. I was following a few of them on YouTube. And
I have a question first. Why were you following specifically Scientologists?
well, not just Scientologists. Just a few of the people. I might follow 70 channels, but maybe 10 of them, it might be, not even, maybe 6 or 7 of them might be Scientologists. Well, on the show, Leah Remini, the person I was just talking about who was the actress, who I believe you would know, she's really great friends with Jennifer Lopez in real life, and they've played in some movies together.
Okay.
Anyway, and what I was saying was, Scientology gave her the confidence. And she said that. Kirstie Alley was a Scientologist as well. Giovanni Ribisi. There's a few of them. So they feel like it gives them the confidence and more of an edge on things than it does other people. Because in Scientology, they believe that there's no babies per se, but there's just old beings in little bodies. So even the youngest of kids could be called sir and be running things for people that are 60, 70 years old. So it's a real whacked up thing. And then the guy that started that, the whole thing of Scientology was L. Ron Hubbard, right? And he has passed on. and now this little guy's in charge of it, David Miscavige, and he's like an evil little doctor, like almost like the guy from, do you remember the movie The Spy? That one with Austin Powers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the little guy, like that. So, because he is, and that's Tom Cruise's best friend. And you know what they say? They say that if something happens to David Miscavige, who I think is the same age as Tom Cruise, that perhaps Tom Cruise would take over this religion.
So it's still functioning.
Oh, it's still functioning, but it used to have a lot more followers than they have today. Today, they estimate that they might have maybe 30,000 worldwide. Right. But the whole thing about it is to achieve this level of clear so that you could clear the planet, so that everybody is basically doing the right thing. However, the right thing seems to be giving Scientology money. And there is no... And there's also this circle of once you get to clear, or once you get to where you know about Xenu, and you know, it's like you spend all this money and you find out that this is a crock of shit, and then you think you have all of these like invisible body thetans, don't itch, body thetans on you, right? Body thetans on you that are making you react the way you were, that it's not even you or your past memories, it's these body things, and people buy into this shit, but at this point they are so involved in it and spend so much money in it, and sometimes decades. Like, there are people that have left the group after 40 years. And see, this is what's happening now, is that these people have gotten out of Scientology and they've told their story. Their story is fascinating, right? So I want to listen to their story. I did listen to the Leah Remini story on the aftermath and everything. And there was this guy named Aaron Smith Levin. There's a few of them I follow. Steve Mango. And a few of these people have contacted me. I'm going to tell you on Issues with Toddy One Skip that I've had a few contacts this morning with people with bigger channels, and I do want to talk to you about that. So, but what happens is now there's this group that are ex-Scientologists that have themselves seem to have become a cult, because they're not letting in other ex-Scientologists because they don't want them critiquing ex-Scientologists. But some of these ex-Scientologists are not good people, and there's been receipts to prove that they are not good people. So one of these guys that is Steve Mango, who, by the way, contacted me this morning. I believe it was Steve Mango, and he's okay. Somebody died in that community, says that he has suffered with some mental health, so I thought, man, I hope he's all right. So he is okay, so that's a good thing. So it seems, that's who I think contacted me today. Anyway, this guy, for an example, Steve Mango, he's a gay guy from the Midwest, and he was bullied when he was a kid, and that's sad. The shit like that defines you. I'm sorry, but it does. And then his own family wasn't really there for them. He was a gay guy. They didn't accept him. He had the guts to move to California. He's walking down Sunset Strip. He knows about Tom Cruise, and the Scientologists not grab him, but they say to him, hey, I think that we can help you with your career. Come on in. And then they tell him how wonderful he is, how wonderful he looks, and that he's going to be the next Tom Cruise. Of course he's going to be the next Tom. We've got Tom Cruise! So they love bomb him, and he's paying, a little bit for the classes, a little bit the dig, right, before they get you. And in the meantime, which is an important thing, you reveal to them your innermost truths. Darkest secret. Exactly. Now, why would people do that?
To hold you hostage.
Well, no. But why would you tell somebody your deepest, darkest secret? Seriously, why? Yeah. So, but they prey on. Now, Steve felt very alone out in California, and the first group that, he felt comfortable with were with these people, and so that messed with his mind. He was promised this. He was promised something that they had no business promising him. And that's what happened with this guy, Zero Dark Tony, it appears like. Because now there's questions. Somebody reached out to me and said that they'd like to be sure that Zero Dark Tony was an actual Scientologist. And I asked, do you not think so? And they said they're not 100% sure. Here's the thing, I'm going to talk about that too with Zero Dark Tony. Maybe he did come up with a persona that was somebody that said he was a Scientologist. But I think he's so angry that he was a Scientologist and that he's got a problem now because people have excluded him. And I'm not saying that the way he talks, this is the guy that I took the thumbnail from. He's got horrible language. He really does. He is quite offensive. He really is. He's so angry at this community because and he's got truths about some horrible things about these people that are ex-Scientologists now that people like me look to for, the truth about things. And they weren't being honest about themselves. Now, so Zero Dark Tony is the channel that I took that thumbnail from that helped me. I mean, he didn't mean to, I don't think, but maybe he did help me with getting traction on this channel. I don't owe him anything but that. But in all fairness to him, I've seen other videos where he talks about other subjects and he's not near as angry. Anger is, I don't think that, and he's an actor, but that's not fake. Something happened to him with Scientology. He reached out to these people. They fucked him over, from what I see. He might not be the greatest guy. I'm not saying that. But that's what Scientology does. It takes your dreams and it shits on them. It takes money from you. It takes your dreams. They amplify they puff you is what it is. It's made of bullshit. And then these these young people get so screwed up, and then when they run out of the money, they're useless to them, and then they tell them their acting sucks. They're not going to be anything more than a piece of shit, and they might as well be helping people with Scientology now, because here's the thing, they could go up that very expensive bridge as long as, more or less, yes. They could go up that bridge if they are Sea Org members. Now, Sea Org members work 60, 70 hours a week. They live in the most worst places, and they get maybe $50 a week, maybe $50 a week that they have to pay taxes on. And the church is tax-free. Now, how messed up is that?
That's strange.
Well, that's the way it is. So that's Scientology in a nutshell with a bunch of other stuff. But there's a bunch of...
But there's nothing about that makes sense remotely, besides
maybe I
playing
didn't
on
tell
the
it right.
emotion.
Maybe I didn't tell it right.
It's
I'm
not
joking.
That you didn't tell it right.
I think people are going.
We're talking about Sea Orgs and Xenu.
Well,
right?
Sea Org. So just so you know, Sea Organization is what it is. SEA organization. So there are people that actually wear a military uniform.
That's an acronym.
Well, no. It's SEA, like C, right?
It doesn't
and then
stand
an
for
organization.
anything.
No, because used to be. The Sea Orgs used to be on the boat, and the boat used to be out at sea. Those were the Sea Orgs. Now Sea Orgs, from my understanding, maybe Sea Orgs were also on land too, because there's Sea Org members that are the most dedicated. They're not out in the ocean. The reason why they were out in the ocean a long time ago was to get away from the taxes before they were tax exempt, when they were looking for L. Ron Hubbard.
We call those people the Navy SEALs.
Oh, do not call because that's insulting the Navy SEAls. That's so insulting the Navy SEAls.
It's a joke, Lisa.
Okay, well, listen, I'm not a Scientologist, but I mean, that's insulting, I think, the Navy SEAls. But here's the thing, the people that are in the Sea Org, they're regular people that are just trying to, they don't know anything about Xenu yet. Because here's the thing, you can't tell somebody about Xenu because it will bring them cancer. That's said in the writings by L. Ron Hubbard.
So people,
but here's the thing: there are people born into this, so they don't know any different.
Aren't
any different.
Seeking the truth initially at first, and then over time they start seeing it for what it is, and then they start resenting.
I'm going to tell you what happened. So these people that came out, all these little ones that came out of the community, the ones that are sitting here now, no, they were mistreated. They were abused. Some of them were abused.
Physically?
Some of them were physically abused. They were thrown in a hole. One guy, Mike Rinder, was thrown in the hole, but before he was thrown in the hole, he used to throw people in the hole. He was thrown in the hole. He was beaten by David, the little guy, David Miscavige. He was assaulted. He was humiliated. He was thrown in the hole, and they used to play duck, duck, goose, with the chair. Seriously, and the last person that didn't have the chair. So imagine that fight. They treated them like fucking animals. And these people, they felt like they had nowhere to go. They had no family on the outside. There's been escapes. There's been people that have escaped.
Right.
You know, it's first of all, Mike Rinder, the guy that I'm talking about, he was in there when he was 9 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like his parents brought him in there.
Yeah.
So like that's all
crazy.
you know what I'm saying? So I mean, you can't really blame him. Here's the problem that people have with Mike Rinder, as we all know, is that did Mike Rinder change? Because he was a bad guy. And he would have charges against him, against a law, you know, like crimes, had he have been out of Scientology and had those things have been reported. Assault, there were horrible things that he admitted to doing. And he got a change of heart because he was treated that way. It doesn't seem like he had a problem treating people that way. He was treated that way. And Leah Remini, too. And Leah says that, too. She wanted to stay in Scientology because that's what felt comfortable for her. But even though she was mistreated at Tom Cruise's wedding when she only asked about where the leader, David Miscavige's wife, was, somebody said, you don't have the fucking rank to ask. And she got really offended by that. There's a lot of ego shit involved, too.
It sounds like a bunch of chaotic children.
Well, they're not, but you got to remember, and she was brought in as a child, too.
Okay, well, that's even worse. But
a lot of these people were brought in as children.
These parents and adults are experiencing this and then introduce their kids into the same, indoctrinate them into the same culture that they're neglecting, then what other result are you going to end up with?
Well, no, I'm not pro Scientology.
No,
you know that,
I'm
right?
not. I know, but I'm just trying to make this make sense because
it's
one
not
thing
make sense.
has made sense.
It's not going to make sense.
The only
thing, the reason why I think a lot of people stick in Scientology now is because they're afraid. First of all, they do these horrible things when people leave Scientology and they make noise. They do this thing called fair game, where they utterly destroy. So there was a guy named Doug who had left Scientology. He was an actor. He wasn't a really famous actor, but he was an actor that had made a living out being an actor, which is successful on his own. And Doug had died, and it's only been recently. And Doug said on a video, I know I saw the video, I could pull it up, but he said, there's nothing wrong with me if something happens to me. And he alluded to something possibly happening to him. Now, people...
So they killed him.
Well... I can't say that. I don't know that. Doug had passed on. Doug was a heavy smoker. The stress will kill you. I know how stress will be by itself. Heavy smoker, not overweight or anything, but I don't know what happened to it. There's another woman, her dog was killed. So they've grabbed ex-Scientologists. I don't know what they do to people that aren't Scientologists. I've had a few people that said, hey, be careful. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's very strange. I
think
that.
So, but here's the thing. It's not Scientology, I don't think, that's doing that shit. It's the ex-Scientologists that don't want, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. There's this...
The ex-Scientologists have made their own
cult. Exactly. And they push people out. Like this guy, Steve Mango in Truth. Steve Mango started his channel before these people started their channel, and they bullied Steve for like Steve wanted to continue on telling his story about Scientology, and he needed a camera, and he was wanting to do like a Patreon or something like that. People are making so much money hand over fist now. The same people that bullied him are like, yeah, so just hit me up on a super chat, and only answering things like super chats, you know who I'm talking about. And you know what I'm saying? And they really bullied this guy. Now, how do you leave a cult, know what it is to be mistreated, turn around and mistreat somebody and say, yeah, it's okay?
Well, then you got to be a very immature person that hasn't developed fully and haven't learned from your life lessons.
There's no life lessons learned yet because they just, listen, they find excuses. The person I'm talking about in particular is finding excuses, and they keep saying, well, what do you expect from me? I grew up in a cult. But you left the cult 10 years ago. When are you going to grow up?
Did they get to
Then
Xena?
stay in the fucking cult. No, they didn't. No, everything they did is honestly has been half-assed.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe whoever
that they
this
didn't reach
individual
Xenu. No, there are
is,
people
they
that
didn't
did
reach
reach
Xena.
No, there are people that reach Xenu. And
Xenu.
Yeah, Xenu. There are people that reached, because there's no truth in that. It was a science fiction writer.
Right.
If you pull yourself away from that, and the guy's even on tape saying in an interview, well, you want to make money, start a religion.
Oh yeah.
No, he's like, no. But I'm saying the guy that started the cult said that on tape. People hear that now and still follow him.
Right.
The guy's
but
dead.
That's true with all
the guy's
religion.
dead. The guy, they still have a room for him, and they still lay out clothes every day for him in case he comes back.
Yeah. But that's,
did you hear what I said?
Right.
Why does he need clothes coming back?
He's coming back as a baby. But that's true
No,
within all religion.
he can come back. He's supposedly able to pick because he's still for the Sea Org. Yeah, because he's got to come back as Sea Org member.
That's after
Billion-year contract. Billion-year contract.
That's after you walk through the wall. That's like having a chameleon infestation.
Listen, I'm not. You know that I'm a Christian, and listen. I'm a Christian. I know the controversy of people that don't believe in Jesus Christ, in the miracle of the virgin birth. I get it. It sounds silly if you don't believe it. That's faith. I have that faith. My faith isn't disconnecting people, and my faith isn't. I'm not excluding anybody, and my faith is not about money. I tithe, but if I didn't, it would still be okay.
Well,
I'm still welcome
it's very
to my church.
relatable between communities and churches because they're a corporation. So, in that aspect,
every community and church.
If it's a church and it's deemed a
They
religion,
have to
they
have to make money. They have to make money. They have to make money. They do. I know.
I'm just saying.
And yes, absolutely. But here's the difference. I'm still welcome to go to my church and to see my she's not a reverend. Yes, she is
preacher.
A reverend. Nope, she's a reverend.
Okay.
Not a preacher, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Because I see preacher, I see Southern Baptist preacher. I saw reverend.
Okay.
And
but the point of that is to become a better person and to
absolutely.
not only
But
become
here's
a better
the thing:
person,
if
but to
I
lift
didn't have the
others
money,
around you.
If I didn't have the money, I'm still welcome to go to the church, and I'm still welcome to meet with the reverend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Scientology is not. It doesn't welcome that. You need to work for them, or you need to pay them, and then let's say you leave.
Yeah.
Let's say you're like, okay, enough's enough, and you leave. First of all, you're not really allowed to leave, but then you have a freeloader's debt. So now you got to pay them back for all of the classes that you took. And in the meantime, you haven't. What's your skill when you left? In the meantime, I got to tell you this. In all honesty, like the Scientologists, they're really hard workers, and that's just true. For the most part, they're very hard workers, and they're very skilled at what they do because they had to. They had to do that to survive. You couldn't be a lazy Scientologist unless you had a lot of money, I would assume. You know that?
Yeah, I would say that's probably where it started from.
What do you mean?
A trust fund or somebody who's been successful and had some money, and then they started it, and so on and so forth.
Scientology started by that guy I told you about, L. Ron Hubbard.
But the whole aspect of the pyramid scheme didn't start until after, right?
No. So L. Ron Hubbard, he started with Dianetics, and then he realized. So he tried to get Dianetics originally, approved by psychologists and psychiatrists and stuff like that, and they. I guess they thought that there were some good bits of it, but there wasn't going to be approved or what's the word I'm looking for? Sponsored by them or anything like that. And then he went wholeheartedly anti-science, psychology and anti-psychiatry. And now you don't give people drugs or anything like that. And then he just thought, I could turn this into a religion and make a lot of money. And that's what he did.
And did he turn a profit and see money before he passed?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. He had the boat and everything. He was running on the seas. They were actually on the water because they were trying to get him, and he would stay in international waters. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So he wrote everything down. You talk about, I'm telling you, the guy was he wrote every day. And as a writer, I wasn't that kind of writer.
But that's dedication.
But, it's kind of genius if I'm honest with you about.
Batshit crazy?
which is a very fine line.
Yeah.
But he has an answer for everything. Like, and he has a lot of the acronyms for like everything. Oh, so there's for anything within Scientology in the world. There was names for them, like people on the outside that weren't Scientologists. They were called WOG. Please don't say it. Before that. So that's anybody who wasn't a Scientologist would be a WOG.
What's that?
Well, if you don't say it out loud, but that's the word.
Why can't you say it out loud?
Because it's definitely something that a lot of people. It's a Chinese slang. It's a horrible, but that's not what it's meant by. It means worldly older gentleman. That's what it means. So I'm telling you, they had all these acronyms for things, but it's not a compliment there. And then they had all of these. It was a snitch community.
I've never heard of WOG. Like,
I know, because it's a terminology from Scientology, but
as a derogatory term
also but it wasn't okay. It is a derogatory term for the Chinese people. That's something totally separate. He uses it as a derogatory term for people that are outside of Scientology. So in other words, let's say you and I was a Scientologist, you were not. You would be a WOG, and you would just say the word. And they would say, why are you with that WOG? Well, I love him. Yeah, but he's a W. So you try to get him into Scientology. That was a lot of the problems with the Tom Cruise marriages and stuff like that.
This sounds like an entire...
You've never heard of Scientology,
made-up
honestly?
story.
It was a made-up story.
Right.
Pulp Fiction, man.
And being a sober...
And it was sold.
Man, listening to this right now, I feel like anyone who has ever bought into this needs a clinical psychologist to work through.
Okay, so I want to just tell you something in all fairness. So Tom Cruise is dyslexic. He's right?
That doesn't mean.
Remember wait a minute. Remember I told you.
My dad was dyslexic.
Okay, but remember I told you I was dyslexic with numbers, and my ninth grade math teacher helped me through that, right? So that's true. She taught me a way. And when she taught me a way of learning how to see numbers, it was like when I put glasses on for the first time. Holy shit. You mean things are supposed to be that crisp and that clear? You don't know until it happens. So I could see where somebody took and taught Tom Cruise how to work past his dyslexia, how to work, because somebody knows. There are people that know how to teach people with dyslexia so that they get it. And I believe that happened with Tom Cruise, and he was like, wow, that is a huge help. And with John Travolta, when he started Scientology,
he was colorblind.
It was out. No. Listen to me, seriously. Like he suffered. Poor John Travolta, no lie. He was in love with this woman named Diana Hyland, and unfortunately, she was an older woman. Unfortunately, she died in his arms. She had cancer, and then years later, as you know, Kelly Preston, his wife, died in his arms. So the poor heartbreak of him. But in the meantime, here's the thing.
Is that not strange? Well, that's a rare event by itself, right?
Well, there were many years later, decades later. But anyway, here's the thing. He felt like his career was taking off at the same time that he got into Scientology. So he's thinking Scientology's working for him. You see what I'm saying? So that timing was right. Tom Cruise learned, wow, dyslexia, I could beat that. Mind over matter.
So
you know what I'm saying? So I think that these people were taught...
The roots have to be broken to where you are so far astray that this is your last safe ref to be able to have the confidence or feel supported, and this is what these people get stuck into?
No, here's what I think happened with some people. What I think is some people took the first parts of it, and the first parts, like I said, those tools were useful, the Dianetics parts, okay? Maybe not all of the Dianetics, but at the beginning, people saw, wow, this works for me. Wow, this works for me. And then the classes got a little bit more expensive, and they were like, okay, but it did work for me. I don't want to fucking ruin it. Let's keep going with it. And then you go into those classes where you tell secrets. And after you fucking tell your secrets, I think that's when you're like, holy fuck, what do
Hook,
I do
line,
now?
sinker.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I think, especially if you're a celebrity. But
Well,
listen, you could
I think
destroy people, period. You know what I mean? Like, you could destroy people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
like,
I
you
think
don't
that
have to
there's
be a
so much
celebrity. You just have
money
to
and
fuck up
power.
somebody's world.
I think there's so much money
There's
and
billions
power.
in Scientology, and
Right.
there's not that many people anymore.
But I think that there's so much money and power throughout the whole entertainment business that's pretty easy to do at that level, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, it's TMZ does that on a daily basis. So
Right.
it's like...
Right. But here's the thing, like, so the thing with Scientology is that, what's going on now with the people that have left Scientology and have started this, like, SPTV community, so it's suppressive person. And suppressive person is a terminology for people that have left Scientology
Rewind
and
real
don't
quick.
speak good.
So you said who started SPTV?
That's the not the anti, I don't even know that they're anti-Scientologists.
This is the subcult.
This is the people that have left Scientology. Some of them have still practiced Scientology independently. I feel like there's something on my nose. You'll tell me. Don't let it be up there. So this SPTV community are people that have left Scientology, and they're trying to expose people that are doing wrong in Scientology still, and to expose Scientology to those people that are now sneaking on the internet that are still Scientologists looking maybe for a way to get out. And for the entertainment of others or the information. Some of them are, but they're not doing the disconnection and stuff. See, L. Ron Hubbard, I don't think, had the disconnection
like
thing.
the
I
more
think David
holistic
Miscavige had that. What?
This is like the more holistic way? Is that...
No, they're just doing like the e-meters, and they're not taking, like, they might be taking some people are taking the money and it's about greed. Some people are accused of their own cult. Like Steve Mango was the young guy that I told you about. Not Doug. Doug was the guy that died. Steve Mango was the guy that I watched. He was one of the first guys to talk about Scientology. He was the gay guy that I told you about that was love bombed and everything, and they were all love bombed. But he was ready to unalive himself. And this woman who used to be a Scientologist, you know, when he went out, yeah, you can't say that. Yeah, you got to say unalive. Isn't that unbelievable?
Since when?
I'm telling you, they can demonetize us. We're not monetized, but yeah, you got to say things like unalive. So anyway, so when he was ready to like do himself harm, and this woman who was a Scientologist for so many years and no longer a Scientologist, and claimed that the tech was good, but it wasn't being done by good people, took this guy's money and was like trying to convince him that, you know, she was able to help him, and really took advantage of this guy. And in the meantime, publicly, she was telling everybody that the tech was bad, that L. Ron Hubbard was bad, so she was lying. So there's this big chasm for when people get out of Scientology and how do they land on their feet. And a big question, which Doug asked, and this is true, so Doug didn't trust the people that were out of Scientology that didn't struggle to find footing. So people that got out of Scientology that had lived in, I get that. No, yeah, some of them. But it's kind of like getting out of jail. You know what I mean? You're in your own little community. You're doing what's told of you. You don't have really the independence to even be worldly as far as the internet and stuff like that, because you can't check things out, that you don't have the freedoms and stuff, and your world is very small by Scientologists. So then you get out, right? You get out of there, and like, how do you land on your feet? And a lot of people struggled. So the question is, how come some of these other people didn't struggle? With you until Wimbledon, and then we'll fight about that. So Russell just told me that my favorite sport, that there was nothing amazing about it, and I told him when Wimbledon or U.S. Open or any second thing that comes with tennis has to do with it, then we'll talk about that then. Because I do think tennis is
You know
an
what? I
amazing
had to sit there as a
sport.
kid and watch my grandmother watch this.
You didn't have to
religiously.
watch your grandmother
No, I had
watch it.
to.
You could have watched the
I had
ball.
to.
You could have watched tennis. You didn't have to
Instead
watch
of
your
watching
grandmother
it,
go like this.
I would look at the ground, right? And I remember she had like this really patterned, beautiful rug.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sit there and I would listen to. I remember just looking at the rug like, when is this going to be over?
I think that
When
it's
is this gonna
still. I think that you are imitating Rafa Nadal, who is my absolute
Probably.
favorite tennis player, and to this day he still plays. It'll probably be
Yeah.
his last year, I
Okay.
think. Rafa kicked ass.
Yeah.
I mean, when people can serve, and this isn't Rafa, okay, but when people can serve 122-mile-an-hour serve, that is amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying
When
that they're
people
not
can
incredible
get
people.
from one court, from one side of the court to the other side of the court and go back and forth and hit like amazing shots. The thing about tennis that I love so much is that it really is not over until it's over. And the fact that I feel really connected to my dad still when I watch tennis. Though he
That's
likes the
justifiable,
women's
yeah.
tennis, I prefer the men's tennis.
Yeah.
I watched the women's tennis when like the Williams sisters and Martina Navratilova. But we got to go now because we hear people coming. Issues with Toddy One Skip. This is End.Formants. Russell, Toddy One Skip. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, join in on the chat. I'm always there. I try to. I hope I did okay with the Scientology thing and that you knew something about it. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the characters that we've already spoken about. Guys,
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Maybe we'll see you before the new year. If not, we'll see you shortly after the new year.
Let's do it.